You're such an asshole.
Taco Tuesday, bro. Continuing on at Asshole Consulting on this fine Tuesday morning. Dear Cappy, a video response would be great. Here's a link to an article about private equity dude bros in healthcare. These guys could have blood on their hands. I've read a little bit about an article. Might have even been the same nonprofit think tank that wrote this article or came up with the research and the study it cites. And I'll just tell you, it's no different. It's no other. Look, let me explain to you. Let me explain to you third parties, okay? Insurance is a perfect example. If it's just customers and the healthcare system, right? The only cost you must bear, you must pay, is the cost of healthcare, right? A certain amount of arms are going to be broken and need to be casted every year in the United States, a certain amount of surgeries, a certain amount of heart attacks, a certain amount of stitches, a certain amount of pregnant, right? There's the population of the United States. All of us are going to require X amount of healthcare in that year, whatever it might be. And then there is the healthcare industry that's going to provide it for us. So we got to cover that expense. Throw in a third party, it only drives costs up. Why? Because now you must pay for the third party, because the third party is not going to engage in this industry unless they make a profit at it and cover their costs. Enter in health insurance. Okay. Now, this does not mean we're against health insurance. What the service should be is a purely financial one where, okay, you don't know what's going to happen, right? You're getting actual insurance. So you pay us a certain amount of money that would have normally gone to the healthcare industry, right? And what we'll do is we'll hold on to it for you and invest it for you. And then in the case of an emergency or something where you can't handle the costs, we will cover you. But then under the understanding of the life of our relationship, you will pay us more than what it would be if you had to pay directly. Why? Well, because we got insurance employees to cover. But that's the price you pay for having that peace of mind, right? So anytime you introduce a third party to provide some kind of service, you by necessity increase the cost. And surprise, insurance companies might overinflate the amount that things cost. And when you flood the healthcare industry with third-party money, with bloviated insurance premiums, as if you're just paying cash, no different than, well, let me finish this. Don't be surprised when health expenses go up. Is there another place where a third party came in and blew up prices? Oh, I wonder if that's college tuition, where the government, like if you just had to pay cash or scrap up a little bit of bucks, it's demand for college degrees, and then the education industry that's, okay, you could pay for college tuition, but you get dumbass Democrats in there predominantly. We got to help everyone. And you lend $650 billion a year to the education industry. I wonder if colleges and universities are going to jack up their tuition, right? Third parties or fourth or fifth parties, you add another group of people to it, it's going to jack up prices because it has to. And if you just got rid of the middleman, right? Middleman only increases prices. So here's the article. This is titled, Private Equity Drains Resources from U.S. Hospitals, report says. Private equity firms routinely strip hospitals of assets, according to report. Private equity ownership of hospitals across the United States leads to a declining patient care and drained community resources, a new report warns. Why is private equity taking over? I know someone has to own the hospitals. But I would say private, that's the healthcare industry. Private equity is like this consulting. Why would you? Well, I know why you'd sell to private equity, because you're going to get money. And if private equity were like a hospital management group, maybe I could understand. You're not. You're a bunch of fucking low IQ dude bros who just don't want to work. right? They are not in there to provide a good product at a fair price. Imagine if you had that kind of rule or business ethics, long-term business management philosophy heading up the healthcare industry. No, you have financiers. You have third parties coming in, basically kicking out the medical, hospital, healthcare managing professionals, and now they're going to take over the hospital. And what do you think their motivation? I mean, everyone's motivation is profit, of course. I got a third party coming in. They don't give a look. Just like whoever took over PF Chang's doesn't give a fuck about good Chinese food and your experience, your dining experience there. These assholes don't care about your health care. And whereas we can all live without good Chinese food, it's hard to live without good health care. And I'm not a Democrat. I'm not. Very much not. Peter Pitts, former associate FDA commissioner and president of Center for Medicine in the Public Interest, released Barbarians at the Hospital Gates, Private Equity, its impact on patient care this month. Over the past 2 decades, private equity has come to play an increasing influential role in the operations and management of hospitals across the United States, the report said. Recent reports that found PE has invested over $1 trillion into the American healthcare sector, with 20% of all for-profit hospitals owned or operated by private equity firms. Okay, so we should be able to figure out who's doing better. Right? We got our control group and we got the private equity group. Disconcertingly, studies show, and here's, really? What's your bias? Patient experience worsens after hospital is acquired by private equity. I'm going to believe it because everyone's experience worsens when a firm is taken over by private equity. I'm not even going to question the bias. The statement is self-evident. Yeah, no shit, buddy. Is such acquisitions create incentives to pursue short-term returns through aggressive cost cutting. There we go. He sold me. Here's where, the number one source of information and statistics and data you should trust? Your own fucking eyes. Absolutely, I believe it. Private equity firms routinely strip hospitals of assets, according to the report. Nationwide, in the 2 years after private equity takeover, hospitals lost an average nearly 1/4 of the real estate, buildings, and equipment. That's equivalent to a $28 million loss per hospital, Pitts wrote. Examples include Massachusetts, where the state provided Steward Health Care $72 million in emergency funding after the group declared bankruptcy. Yeah, and then you got that kind of you got that too big to fail, right? It's really not too big to fail, but it's too important to fail. Hey, you need hospitals. We need that building with all that expensive hospital or medical equipment. We need that. I think, didn't Massachusetts pass something like you can't be private equity and take over? There was a state, I think, that passed restrictions against private equity taking over healthcare. Apollo Global Management, private equity firm behind Steward, walk away with about $325 million. There you go. This would be one of those things, even though it goes against my libertarian free market economics. I'm like, nope, private equity has proven itself to be scumbags. You're out. Get the fuck out. Audit every single one of those motherfuckers. The report cites studies show a rise in adverse patient outcomes after private equity takeovers. I believe it. A Journal of the American Medical Association study found a 25% increase in hospital-acquired complications, including a 38% rise in central line bloodstream infections, a doubling of surgical site infections, and 26% increase in falls, despite fewer central lines being placed. These are 3 data points. I'd like to see a more thorough list, but I believe it. Look, hang on, let me move this over. This is throwing me off. That's all private equity knows what to do. I don't care if it's the restaurant industry. I don't care if it's bowling alleys. I don't care if it's dentists. I mean, dentists, that industry, it's healthcare, right? Or at least healthcare adjacent. All private equity knows to do is go in there, give false diagnoses, tell them they need all the shit that they don't need, jack up the price, and cut costs. I could see it where they we're going to hire foreigners. We're not going to hire American nurses or admin staff. We're going to hire foreigners. They barely speak English. Last time I went, got my teeth cleaned. It was affordable, but oh my God. Yeah, she was an immigrant and she was dumb and slow. Not because she was an immigrant, but because she was a dumb and slow person who happened to be an immigrant. But they got her cheap, right? I'm like, lady, I could do this myself faster. Let's go. Oh my God, we found all this other things wrong with you. I'm sure you did. Good thing I got a dentist that I know personally that I'll go visit in the Twin Cities. Patient satisfaction also declines. A 2025 cohort study analyzing hospital consumer assessment of healthcare providers and systems data showed declines in overall hospital ratings, minus 2.4 percentage points, and willingness to recommend, minus 2.1 points, in private equity acquired hospitals relative to match controls. These differences grew over time, with a 5.2% and 4.4% drop by year 3 post acquisition, respectively, of course. And here's my question: did costs go down? Right, the whole idea. Let me explain to you. Doesn't matter if it's private equity or anyone else taking over. When someone takes over another company, what they're saying is, we can manage it better than you guys. We believe you have these assets in this market and this customer base and all that, but you have bad or not as optimal management. We could come in and manage it as good and eke out more profit, or manage it better, improving the part of the product and equal out the same profit. No, it never happens. It never happens. All they do, and if you watch, according to Nicole in Canada, a lot of these things, they'll go in and look at sweetheart deals with their buddies, or say, okay, you're going to take on all this debt. And our bankers at the financing bank, they're going to have you go through, get a commission. And we don't have the debt. Not the private equity fund has the debt. The hospital has the debt. Right? Now we're going to take your assets, put them up for collateral. And when we're going to sell those, and now you're going to rent, you're going to sell it to some friends we know who now own the assets. And we're going to rent it back to you. And you're going to pay us absurd amounts of rent. And this is just sucking the blood out of a company for ulterior motive parties. Say, well, why would a company buy it to go bankrupt? Because the private equity firm intends for it to go bankrupt. But it's the entity they acquire that goes bankrupt, not the private equity firm. And then they just vampire out all the resources and the assets, so that when the hospital, like only in name or whatever company they bought, goes bankrupt on a piece of paper, now all the private equity firms, or more so their buddies and their cronies, own the assets and had just sucked out all the money through rents or consulting agreements and interest rates. There it is. It should be banned. I hate to side with Democrats, but here's where you need a Labor Party, not the Democrats, right? You need a Labor Party. Because Democrats would say, okay, we're going to stop that and kill all the white males. That's the Democrat Party today. It's like, well, okay, that was good. You had the good, and then you went right off the cliff after that. You see, you can solve the problem without murdering all the white males in America. Yeah, but I really hate white males. We're aware. We've seen the Democrat Party. We're aware. You hate it, but you see, you can do this good thing, and just leave it at that. You don't have to murder people. It just yeah, but we're aware you hate it, but maybe you can help out the people you intend to help out, and maybe have a better PR image. But no, I want to hate. Okay, never. We'll pick up this conversation later. Democrats, if you need a consultant, a political consultant. The report also noted a health affairs study showing that, so now we're up to 3 studies now, showing that Medicare beneficiaries undergoing emergency surgeries at private equity-owned hospitals had a 42% higher 30-day mortality. These are pretty bad statistics, rising from 6.4% to 9.1% compared to similar procedures at non-PE hospitals. Pitts concluded that private equity's short-term financial model undermines care. It undermines everything. Here, at the end of the day, is what you have. You have a bunch of lazy people with connections who don't want to work for a living, right? Why do Democrats, socialists, leftists in general treat their constituents so poorly, right? Take the black community. Why do Democrats, including black Democrats themselves, treat black people so poorly, objectively? Not what they tell them. Why is it you go to any major Democrat-controlled major metro shithole, the black community is doing the worst out of all various groups within the United States? Why? Because the Democrats don't care about black people. They want to profit and avoid work at all costs, and they will ruin generation after generation after generation lying to black people about how the real world works. I mean, they literally enslave their own people or the people they ostensibly claim to want to help. Why? Because they don't want to work. The exact same thing on the private equity or private sector, corporate conservatively, although no guarantee these guys are conservative or political, it's apolitical. But on the exact same evil corporation, private sector side are these guys, bankers, finance bros, and all that. Why do they destroy companies? Why do they take unnecessary risks? Why? Because they're too lazy to work for the money to get the lifestyle they want. It's the same people. They just abuse different groups of people. That's it. And the Democrats, well, the Republicans too, but the Democrats could really, in both places, say, we're done hurting the constituents we claim we want to help. We're actually become a labor party. And we would go after this. You put an end to this. And Republicans should join up on this. Say, yeah, I can agree. You're right. Private equity is horrible. It's all lazy people. For once, we should set aside the R and the D, the red and the blue, and we'll overlook your tremendous hatred of white people, and we'll get together and we'll stop private equity. That would be where the government could come in on this one. Safeguarding patient welfare requires regulatory vigilance, transparency, and alignment of financial and clinical goals. So the hospital remain vital lifelines, not merely profit-generating assets, he said. When it comes to advancing quality hospital care, greed is not always good. I have to agree with them. Well, in here, what are we going to do about it? If Cappy was president, go watch my video. If Cappy were king, or Cappy was king. Someone corrected me on my English. Like, who is the author here? That's right, I am. It's if Cappy was king. I think that's grammatically correct as far as I'm concerned. I talked about private equity and corporations where I'm like, I'm not going to make laws or regulations, right? I'm going to make it as easy for you to conduct business here in these United States of America. But if you fuck me and you fuck the American people with your corporate fuckery, with subscription services or private equity corporal bros, cutting costs, outsourcing jobs overseas, that's where I'd have the bat, right? And just like Robert De Niro, I think it was in, was it Goodfellas? Which one was it? Capone? Which one was it? And we'd have a big old meeting in the desert with all the Fortune 1000 corporate headquarters. And I'd have the guys, the main ones up on the stage. And then I'd be walking behind a couple with the baseball bat. Some of you think you can fuck over the American people. And I'd make sure there were no cameras. I'd pick the guy that was fucking over the man and then just give him a little love tap in the head. Just a little love tap with that bat. And I'd say, anybody want to play corporate fuckery now? Now, I wouldn't do that, but I would use regulatory. I'd use the courts. Like, I'd just be like, oh, is that what? Oh, Windows 11 is doing that? I think there's going to be some antitrust investigations into Microsoft. I think there's going to be some lawsuits. I think we're going to audit Bill Gates and all the corporate executives. Or you stop fucking with the American people, right? It'd just be like that. Like, no, you're not doing private equity. It's not happening. No. You've proven you're evil. You've proven you're lazy. And I'd probably come up I want Congress to pass a law. This is if it's found out that you're ultimately stripping assets, you go to jail for a long, long time. A long time. But this is where government has a role. Again, libertarian. I want as little government as possible, but everyone is evil, including the private sector, and you need some form of law and the good guys with the badge coming in and saving the besieged settlers from the bandits. And I think if we just had a couple corpses, metaphorically, put some heads on some pikes or stakes, say, look what happened. Oh my God. Remember this guy was a billionaire and he had a boat and a yacht. And then we took it all away from him because he stole the money. Right. Remember when PF Chang's used to have bad food until the government, although I wouldn't bother myself with the restaurant industry, until Cappy's antitrust rangers came in on horses and just raided the corporate offices there and made a bunch of arrests, and then the PF Chang's food got better? Oh my god, what? It's crazy. What happened there, man? Oh, wow. Yeah, and you know what? That's something you should do. Don't you know, I know this is you don't think about it. You think, "Oh, there's the hospital. Oh, let's go to the restaurant by the hospital." Like, you all know where the hospital is, like, or the couple hospitals. You should find out, is it private equity owned? Like, what if you get injured? Does your insurance cover that hospital over there? Right? You should say, "No, I wanna go to this hospital." So if you're in the ambulance, you say, "No, go take me to that hospital. Take me to the not private equity hospital. Take me to the one that whatever, I don't know, has the clean floors." I remember working security at Hennepin County Medical Center, which is like the main hospital downtown Minneapolis. Dude, fucking cockroaches. You don't wanna go to Hennepin County Medical. You don't wanna go there. Say, "No, take me to Ramsey County, get me anywhere. Anywhere but there." HCMC. Daniel M, $10. A family member, generous doctor, told me his employer forced him to cover a shift for a specialist. It resulted in the death of a customer. This was because his rates was $80 an hour or less. Private equity is evil. Yep. Yep. And you know, you don't have to work for private equity. Say, no, I don't work for private equity. Hambone. This is his real picture, real face, and he's older than me and old man Rolo. Can't believe it. Look at that hair. Look at that fucking hair. That's bulletproof. Like a nuclear bomb could go off. Everything would be vaporized, but that hair would just be sitting there, man. A good case to me, made for purchasing private healthcare overseas. Let the boomers enjoy domestic. You know what? You're right. I had that idea. I should look at that private. Oh, dude, the fucking list never ends, you know? Right, if I could fly there, it's gonna be chea like, you know, I'm gonna be going to Mexico here pretty soon for my dental work because it's just cheaper for me to go, and I like Mexico. I enjoy visiting. Yes, I don't go to the shit parts. I go to places, I mean, not necessarily tourist destinations. I enjoyed riding my motorcycle in Mexico. I wish I could just ride all over the place, but, you got your cartels. Thank you for reminding me about that, Hambone. Alright, there you go. Link below is a link to my Amazon affiliate link. You could go to assholeconsulting.com/Amazon. Do all your Amazon shopping there through that link. That way I get a 5% commission and cut, and you don't pay anything extra. And that's it. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.